I just didn't leave my house for like even months. They were like, you have pre-diabetes. I had no other option really at that point.
So this is where I think I catch a little bit of heat, because it's like, why did you put someone who's 36% body fat on a bulking phase? But I have a good reason for it.
Yeah, I did this for a different reason than you, obviously.
Are you going to keep working out now?
I think at this point now, today.
So I guess I should start with just like a recap of the experiment we did together.
Sure.
So if anybody didn't see the main channel video, this is my brother Brad, and we did a year-long experiment together where we basically wanted to figure out how much muscle I could build in 1 year versus how much muscle you could build in 1 year, with the difference being I've been training for 15 years and you were a completely untrained beginner. So I think I might have asked mom first, like, do you think Brad would be interested in training for a year and like following the exact same program as me?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure she was like, maybe you could ask him. And so then I think I called you, and is that how it went? And then you were like,
you just messaged me, but
Okay.
Mom and I were going out golfing actually when you did. And I was like practicing my putting, and then you messaged and I was like, oh, okay. And I remember I didn't like get back to you until after the game was done because I had to think about it. And it was an interesting time because right before that, I had gotten blood work back. And they were like, you have pre-diabetes.
Wow.
And I wasn't really telling anyone, I don't think, except for mom. And so she got me, like I bought a stationary bike. And I was doing that like every day, but it sucked. So I was just like, wasn't actually, getting anything down. And then you messaged me like literally 2 weeks after trying to get like, into fitness. And I was like, yeah, I guess this is the perfect opportunity to do it. So,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
It was very coincidental.
Yeah. That's really cool, man. So obviously the year experiment is up now, and we're actually exactly halfway through experiment 2.
Yes.
So I guess I'll tease this here. This is going to be at least a 3-part experiment. Experiment 1 was how much muscle can an experienced trainee build versus how much muscle can a newbie build. Yeah. Experiment 2 is how much fat can we lose in 10 weeks.
Right.
So this is actually probably the cooler part for you, because now you actually get to like lose some weight,
man.
right?
Yeah.
And then experiment 3, which nobody knows about yet. Maybe you don't even know about experiment 3. So experiment 3 is going to be the reverse diet. Do you know what a reverse diet
means?
is? Okay.
Sounds good.
So a diet obviously is when you diet to lose weight, for the most part. A reverse diet is after you hit your goal weight, you gradually increase your calories.
Okay.
With the goal of basically maintaining the body fat that you're at while building muscle. So like, as you know, as we've been dieting down, our calories get lower and lower. Yeah. And so once we hit that goal, what we're going to do next is gradually increase our calories. Right. And so this actually hasn't been studied much. Oh, okay. But some coaches claim that you can, as long as you do it gradually, you can ramp your calories way up and maintain the level of leanness that you got to.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. So like, obviously you need to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight. But once you've lost that weight, you don't need to maintain that deficit forever, right?
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
okay.
you can go back to maintenance, but then in theory, you can kind of push your metabolism or like edge your metabolism up over time. So let's just say, you needed to cut, I'm not going to use our numbers, but let's just say you needed to cut on 2,000 calories and you got down to your goal weight. Yeah. In theory, this is what people claim. You could gradually add, 30, 40 calories a week, each week, until you get your calories up to 2,500 or 2,600, maybe 3,000 calories a day, and you're still maintaining that same level of leanness.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, I guess. Your body like adapts pretty good to stuff. So
it does, but there's conflicting. No, it does.
Maybe.
It does, but there's conflicting scientific evidence on it. Okay. So again, this is the sort of thing I want to figure out for myself, right? Yeah. And so that was part of the impetus for the first experiment was, people debate about whether this natural genetic ceiling even exists. Like some people think you can just build muscle indefinitely, but it just really, really slows down to the point that it's, barely noticeable. I was more on the side of once you've been training for so long, like you've hit it. Like at that point, you either maintain the muscle you've built or you take steroids. But I think with the experiment, I kind of shifted my perspective on that because, as I'm sure you know,
spoilers.
Yeah,
you haven't watched it yet.
True.
Make sure you go check that out.
True. That's good. I gained 2.7 pounds of lean mass.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
And that's at the same body weight.
Yeah.
So as you'd expect, Brad gained way more muscle than me. I think if I'm remembering right, you ended up gaining a net 10 pounds of lean mass and lost 10 pounds of fat simultaneously, which is pretty insane. So your body fat percentage was 36% at the start, and you ended at 29.8%. So pretty much 30. So you went from 36% to 30% body fat while gaining 10 pounds of lean mass, which is just insane, right? In 1 year. As for me, I gained 2.7 pounds of lean mass and lost 2 pounds of fat mass. So with more than 15 years of training under my belt, I honestly was super happy with that.
Yeah.
Like it was a brutal year. It took a lot of discipline, but looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, that was worth it. Like I'd do that again.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
So just to break that down a little bit, because we didn't do the exact same thing all year, we broke it into phases, as I'm sure you know. So the first phase was 6 months, and that was the bulking phase. Yeah. Right. So this is where I think I catch a little bit of heat, because it's like, why did you put someone who's 36% body fat on a bulking phase? But I have a good reason for it. Yeah. And it's that my suspicion was that I just wouldn't be able to build muscle if I just ate at maintenance or if I ate in a deficit. Like I think as you get more and more advanced, you need that caloric surplus to drive new gains.
No, it makes sense.
Right?
And that's what you told me at the beginning.
Yeah. Well. And now having, gotten the results back, I do think that's true.
Totally.
Right. Yeah. So the first 6 months was the bulking phase. And over that course of time, I actually gained 4.5 pounds of lean mass. So like, hey, if you're advanced and you want to gain lean mass, just bulk. But there's a problem, right? Yeah. You also gain a lot of fat. Yeah. Right. So I ended up gaining 11 pounds of fat, which is not an ideal ratio, to be honest. And so then I wanted to see if I lost all that fat, would I retain the muscle or would I just lose the muscle too? So then we entered a short, 3-month recomp phase where we basically just maintained for 3 months. I think you continued to build a little bit of muscle and lose a little fat during that period.
Yeah, I think so.
Nothing much happened to me, honestly. And so then we began our cutting phase where we wanted to get back to our starting body weight and see if we would have gained net muscle, right? Because that's the real question. Like if you just gain 4.5 pounds of lean mass, but you also gain 11 pounds of fat, it's like, well, you don't want to just walk around with all that extra fat, right? So you got to get rid of the fat and see if you retain the muscle. And turns out I did actually retain most of the muscle that I gained. So I ended up with 2.7 pounds net, which is
awesome,
pretty solid. Yeah. So I guess I'm just curious, how did you find it? Like, were you impressed with the results? Were they better than you expected or not as good as you expected?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I did this for a different reason than you, obviously. And it wasn't so much to see, could I, put it on as much muscle as I could? Could I get as shredded as possible? Like it was none of the physical transformation was not there. Right. 2 things was just health and discipline for me. So it was to, like I had mentioned earlier, my blood work was coming back and it was going in a bad direction. So I was like, okay, well, I got to make some lifestyle changes. And 2 was just to see if I could, man. Because, with our family, I'm the only person who doesn't work out. And I had tried, maybe through high school and university and stuff like that. And I'd work out for like a week and not committed or like not on a program or nothing. Just like I went to the gym a couple times, So I think for me, it was the biggest thing was just to see if I could do it. And as we got through it, I think even like in Japan, I realized that this is now going to be something I can continue to do for the rest of my life. Right.
That's sick.
For me, that was 100% worth it.
Right. So you obviously saw, incredible health improvements. And in the video, you talked about social anxiety and that improved. And I think that connected with a lot of people. Yeah. Could you maybe just talk about that a little bit more? Like how bad was it before starting? Was that did that almost hold you back from doing it in any kind of way? And then how quickly did you notice the improvements and what were those improvements like?
It's interesting because it wasn't something that I expected to fix, I guess, if fix is the word. But yeah, for, my whole adult life, I've had pretty bad social anxiety. And it was getting worse and worse, but when you're in it, you don't really notice that it's getting worse and worse. It kind of just becomes your daily life. There was a lot of like, I don't know, limiting myself to when I go out or like ordering, like especially with skip the dishes and everything. It's just like that made it even worse in a way because I just didn't leave my house for like even months.
Yeah, wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know if there was really a moment, but I do remember going into, I think it was a Subway or it was some kind of restaurant. And that was always like a really big thing for me was my anxiety was like, I feel like I'm going to be the dumbest person here. Right. So I would go in, let's say, and order something and they're out of it. And everybody else in the store knows that they're out of that order, right? They're out of that sub. And I'm the only one who doesn't. So as soon as I walked into the door, it scanned the menu, make sure like nothing says out of, you know, like we're out of lettuce or something, whatever, right? It doesn't make sense because anxiety doesn't necessarily make sense, right? But that was always like a big thing. Every time I went to a restaurant or anything like that, I had from, you know, I left my house to I get through the door, I've said what my order like 100 times in my head, right? More than that. And I just remember one day I walked in and I just had it and I was leaving the restaurant and I was like, I just did that. Like I just walked up and I never had to think about what I was going to say like 100 times beforehand, you know? And that was always like the biggest part of anxiety for me is just like not being able to live in the moment because I'm constantly like, okay, this is what I'm going to say. This is what I do. This is where I'm going to stand, you know, and like trying to observe what everyone else is doing and blend in there the best I can. And it just kind of stopped. I don't know.
I have a question. Do you think like getting out of the house and going to a gym and just like being around other people helped?
Absolutely. Dude. 100%. Yeah. Do
you think if you worked out at home, it would have had the same impact?
I don't know. I don't think it would because when I was working out, especially in the beginning, I was working out a lot at night. And I think that part of that was just I liked an empty gym, right? And I like to be myself and all that.
What's late at night?
Like 3 a.m. I would get ready to go to the gym at like 1 because I'm like looking online to see the busyness of the gym.
Okay, so
and
that
like
is why
it would
you
drop.
do that, huh?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I am a night owl as well, but for the most part, I think it was just like I want an empty gym.
Interesting.
And so I think like now, even into this experiment, I don't really do that anymore. Like I'd work out a lot earlier now, like 5 to, I don't know, 9 o'clock now is like usually my window of time. And I enjoy that and I like that. So I do think that is like a really big factor, you know, it's not necessarily just getting better and looking better and stuff like that. It was just, you know, kind of, there's like a word on it, I guess. When you exposure therapy. Yeah. I think that's what it was, right? Just going to a place where you're uncomfortable and, you know, where you're afraid someone might look at you and maybe you don't know what you're doing and that kind of that stuff. And having to do that. Right. And I felt like I had to do that because of this experiment, right? Which is great because if not, I just wouldn't go to the gym.
A lot of people, if you read the comments they found it really impressive that you were even willing to like, not only put yourself out there and open up about that. Because I think a lot of men just don't talk about that, even though it's quite common. It's something I've struggled with previously as well. Right. But I think like a lot of people were like, oh, it's insane that he not only had this social anxiety and committed to doing an experiment with someone who is elite in this field, but also was willing to, you know, put himself out there on camera and document the whole thing. Right. Like, did that feel overwhelming to you at the beginning at all? Or were you just like, I think I can do this?
I think for me, you know, just so many dominoes had fallen at the right time. You know, there was so much on my mind of like, especially like I said, the blood work and like just lifestyle. I mean, I was trying to play golf and I was getting worse and worse at it. And like just trying to do regular activities were getting harder. Like I love skiing and, you know, to like even put on your boots was like a 30-minute endeavor. You know what I mean? So I think just for me, it was this moment of like, I need something to push me to above, right? It was like, kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, there was so many different elements in my life that were piling up that was like, you need to change your life, right? You need to do something better than what you're doing right now. And then this opportunity was the one thing that kind of let me do that. So when I went in to go and, work out and stuff, I just kept that in the back of my mind. It's like, I have to do this. I have to change. So even though it was uncomfortable, even though, I didn't want to do it almost ever, it was just something that, I had no other option really at that point, right? It was either like, okay, or go back to your lifestyle and I don't know what, like start shortening your life, span, I feel like I just didn't have any other option in my head. Not that anyone else was forcing me to do it.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I was kind of surprised at how open you were to the idea. And I guess it's like you said, like the stars just kind of aligned at the right time.
Yeah.
Because I've tried to, get you on training programs before. And you just, honestly, you didn't really stick to it. Right. And like, it got to a point where, again, I never like to badger you about like, you need to be healthier. Like it's your life, man. Like, I'm not one to judge in that way. But at the same time, like, hey, I'm something of a fitness expert. And like, if you want to do this, I can help you. Right. And so I remember even like, you'd be like, how minimal can we get with the working out? Right. Because it's like, even working out once a week is so insanely better than just not working out at all. Right.
Absolutely.
And I remember you were starting to get like hip pain and like your cardiovascular shape was deteriorating and all these sorts of things. Right. So it's like, dude, if you can take 20 minutes once a week, do some push-ups, like I'll get you a set of dumbbells, do some rows, like it'll have a big impact. And like, even with that, I remember like you struggled to do that because you didn't like it. So like I guess I was just kind of like impressed, but also a little surprised that it's like, okay, forget doing once a week. Like you're going to train 5 days a week. And by the way, every single last set is to failure. And the program's probably like far too advanced for you, but we're going to do it for science. And you were honestly, dude, you were kind of just like, sounds good. And then you did it. Right. And that's in spite of the fact that I think a lot of people doubted you even behind the scenes, bro.
Everybody did.
Like we go to we'll talk about the university trips and everything too, but it's like pretty much, I think when we were together, every single person, more or less, that I told this idea to was like, are you sure you're going to be able to do that? That's going to be really hard. Like, you? You know what I mean? To be fair, I will say mom was not like that at all. Like, I feel like she was 100% on board from the very beginning. I think so. She thought it was a fantastic idea. I think dad thought it was a fantastic idea too, but maybe dad was a little more like me in the sense that he was like, I've seen Brad try to work out. Like, this is going to be tough. But then you literally just proved everybody wrong. So how is it because you felt like you had to? Was that the difference? Or like, why'd you stick to it this time?
To be honest, man, I think it's just the fact that if I was working out for myself, I just wouldn't do it. It just wasn't enough motivation to go and do that. Even with the blood work, even with people saying, even with seeing my own physical transformation every day in the mirror of getting, bigger and larger and all that. I don't think that there would have been a moment where it's like, okay, do this, for yourself and fix yourself. Cause it's like, I was comfortable in the discomfort, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And you kind of get in your own roots, you get in your own routines, and it's really hard to break out of that. But having that little extra motivation from other people like McMasters, like you, like doing a video, like doing something that's giving you a deadline, giving you a, I don't know. just more of a purpose to do it. You know what I mean? And having other, like, not that anybody was, for like saying, oh, you got to stick to this, like you said, most people were like, you sure you're going to do this? We'll see. Right. But I think just having someone else relying on you to do that for whatever reason, no matter how small of a reliance it was. Cause I mean, when we started filming this, we had shot it in a way that if I had to be cut out because I dropped out, that was fine. And you made me aware of that right away. You're like, look, man, if this gets too much, just, throw in the towel. No one cares. It's all good. I'll still make this video about myself. Right. And on top of wanting to make a change, it was just enough to push me over the edge of actually getting off the couch.
And so now here's the question. If we scrapped all this and Brad, you never have to work out again. There's no content.
Yeah.
Are you going to keep working out now?
Now.
You will.
If you asked this at midway through the last year video, I don't think I would.
Yeah.
I think at this point now, today, yes. But even at the end of the first video, I don't know. It would have been tough. We would have had to see. Yeah.
So like you are just one of these people who hates working out.
Yeah.
And like you're the only person in our family who's like that, because I love working out. Mom loves working out. Dad loves working out.
Yeah.
You don't. So I think that this is something that like a lot of, fitness influencers and even trainers get confused about, is they're like, they almost pride themselves too much on their discipline. Right. And it's like, bro, you love working out. Yeah. It's not hard for you.
Yeah.
If you show me somebody who hates working out and still does it, now I'll be impressed.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
For you, it was something that you dreaded for 6 months. Yeah. And then it finally got to a point where I think you started to like it a bit. Like I remember you saying to me, you know what, Jeff? Like I kind of like leg day.
Yeah.
Right? And you started to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And another underrated thing, man, is just like having an accountability buddy. Like, I think that's what it boiled down 100%. To for you, was like so having someone to keep you accountable. That person was me, but then also you had, like the people at McMaster who were running the study, and then you knew it was going to be on YouTube. So a lot of people were going to see it. But like, even if it's just one person to help you keep going when you want to quit, I think that can get you to the point where it starts to become habitual. Now, I think for you, you're saying like, okay, it took you about 6 months to get to a point where you were like, I would keep going with this if it weren't for the extra accountability from Jeff.
Yeah.
I think that feels long, but I also know how much you hated working out. But I also think like I threw you into a program that was just too advanced for you. Like it was too much. The workouts were really long. They were really brutal. It was a lot of difficult exercises. You also had to track all your nutrition and your sleep. It was like a whole lifestyle revamp all at once. I think if we had started you off on a more beginner appropriate program, you would have started to like it, or at least find it more tolerable a lot faster. So for example, a little bit of foreshadowing here, but like we're doing obviously the fat loss phase of the experiment now, or experiment number 2. And we've drastically reduced our volume. Like you can get through some of these workouts in half an hour.
Yeah.
Right. And you love the workouts way more.
I do.
Now, I suspect if we kept going with the high volume training that we were doing during bulking, I don't know if you would like it as much.
Yeah.
So if we had started with a program that you actually liked better, I think you would have hit that point where you'd want to keep going faster. And that's a key for people, is like getting that accountability, finding your purpose, but also finding a program that you can at least tolerate, Yeah. Like even better, find a program that you can actually enjoy, right? And I find for most people, that is a program that's a little more low on the low volume side, because the workouts aren't so long, they're not so grueling. And like you can go in, you can push yourself really hard on a few exercises, a couple sets per exercise, you get in and out. And I think that's a much better entry point for most people. Unfortunately for you, you were just a control group in a case study that I was doing. So you had to get thrown into a pretty advanced program. But that obviously won't be most people, right?
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head there with that. Yeah, I agree.
So we talked about like, some of the health gains, mental health gains and all that stuff, which I do personally think that is the most important part of this journey for you. But like the people want to know about the gains. Like what did you think of the gains? Was it better than you expected, a little less than you expected, or did you have no expectations?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, I can't say that I'm not proud of myself. And I can't say that, I feel like for me, I just feel like I'm still in the middle of the journey, if that makes sense. So I don't think that, I can look back yet and be like, oh man, that was good, because I think that I can still get bigger. I can still get, more in shape. I can lose a little bit more fat, which is what we're trying to do now. Yeah. And I don't think I'm ready to be like, I don't know, in a definitive way to say like, oh yeah, no, those gains were great, and pat myself in the back yet. Okay. Because I think there is still more to do.
Yeah. Well, I will. I thought your transformation was cool. It was really good. I think one thing I noticed, and you probably did too in the comments, a lot of people were saying like, this is a realistic transformation for 1 year, right? Yeah. Because, social media selects for genetically elite. And then obviously a lot of people are like using steroids, which can seriously speed up your transformation. And I think it can lead to kind of skewed standards of what's actually achievable in a year. So a lot of people appreciated that. The thing was like, the point of the experiment wasn't how good of a transformation can I get Brad to have in a year.
Right.
The point was to see how much muscle can I build in a year versus how much muscle can you build in a year, with the main difference between us, or really the only difference between us besides some small genetic differences, being our training age, right? So like, if I wanted to get you your best possible transformation, I would have put you in a deficit from day one.
100%.
Because the best way you transform your physique, if you're at 36% body fat, is to lose fat while lifting weights, right? And you'll build some muscle while losing fat, and you'll just look way more jacked by the end, right? But I couldn't do that because that wasn't the question I was trying to answer with the experiment. And so, like, just completely transparently, I think I expected more people to be like, huh, that's it? Like 1 year? Like, not only from you, but also from me. Like, I don't see a difference. Like, what did you like shave? Like, what did, and so, in the before, like, but to be clear, like in the before and after, there was no manipulation. Like same lighting, same distance from camera, same lens, everything was exactly the same, right? And so any visual difference you see was actually from muscle gained and or fat lost. Or, some people might bicker about like, oh, the posing was a little better in the after, like whatever. Like if you think like, I didn't intentionally do anything different with my posing. I don't know if your posing was.
You like wouldn't even teach me how to pose. You were like, cause I'd ask for tips and you'd be like, yeah, just do what you think, and then obviously you would show me how you did it. And then I'd try to copy that, but no.
So I think the most plausible explanation for like any visual difference was just that we gained muscle, right? But with that said, like because of the social media standards, I did expect people to be like, what happened? Like that wasn't that impressive.
Me too.
Yeah. But that wasn't the way it was handled, at least not on YouTube. And I thought that was really good. Like I think it's important that people realize like what is actually possible within a year, and that it might actually happen slower than you expect. I think a lot of people see these influencer workouts and see how the influencer looks and then think that they're going to look like that after training like them for a year. And it's like, well, you first of all, you may never, ever end up looking like that person because your genetics are different. But still, I do think there's a slight problem in the fitness industry of unrealistic expectations. And I thought that was something really cool about the video that we did together. Like, to me, the results were impressive, but not inflated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, that was good. But so like, how did you feel about the gains though? Like, were you happy about it? Were you just nonchalant about it? Did you not notice it? Like, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one of like the biggest moments that I do remember, and I even still look back on a couple of these pictures, but when we were in Japan, I did notice that my back was getting like huge.
Yeah.
And I think that was a moment that I was very excited about.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just because like Japanese people are our size, but I definitely felt, yeah. I definitely felt, over there, I felt a lot bigger.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I did enjoy. I did like, especially as like a short, skinny man growing up. Yeah. Obviously not when we started the experiment, but when I was in high school and stuff, I was always very, very skinny.
Yeah.
And, I think I do remember being at our peak bulk. I did feel, larger, but not fatter, if that makes sense.
Well, you weren't fatter. Your body fat percentage was going down as you build muscle. So that does make sense. Yeah.
So I did love that. I did really, really enjoy that. Yeah. And now at this point where we are after the 1 year, I am starting to feel really, really great about it. how I look. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah. That's really cool. Was there any dark side to the experiment for you? So like sometimes when people get into fitness, they notice that their body image actually starts to get worse. Like I think there's a saying, the day you stop being satisfied with your physique is the day you start lifting weights.
Right.
You know
right.
what I mean?
Okay.
And it's like, it shouldn't be like that. Like, you should only feel better about yourself as you improve your body, and as you improve your health and all these things. But what ends up happening to a lot of people is they just start getting really focused on how they look, and they start body checking in the mirror 10 times a day. And they start comparing themselves to other people, especially with social media and this kind of thing. Did you notice any of that sort of stuff?
I definitely did a little bit because when I was younger, I definitely had a lot of like body dysmorphia, I guess. And I always, looked in the mirror, made sure my hair was good, and made sure like my clothes was like, if there was a wrinkle on it, I was gonna, go home and iron it, even to that extent, kind of thing. And I guess I kind of just like let myself go for kind of that reason, to kind of try and get away from that. So I was a little bit afraid that might come back, and it did, but it came back in a different way. I definitely do look at myself in the mirror a lot more. Like when we started the experiment, like day one, I almost never looked in the mirror except to brush my teeth. Like I just didn't look at myself. Yeah. And I don't know if that was on purpose or if that was subconscious, but I just didn't. Right. And I've noticed throughout the whole year that I was definitely looking and posing and flexing and stuff like that. But it was not in a, oh my God, is there something wrong right now? Yeah. Or do I look weird when I'm going out, or is my hair wrong, or nothing like that, which is what it was before. Now it was in a more positive light, for sure. Maybe even more confidence. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I think the way I look at myself in the mirror now, it has increased, but it hasn't gotten to nitpicking.
Yeah, good.
And hopefully it doesn't. But
yeah, I think also like, you're starting your fitness journey a little later on. And so you're probably just like a little more mature.
Right.
Like a lot of people start lifting in their late teens. You're in your late 20s. Yeah. A lot of people, at that age, that you do have those insecurities, and then lifting can sometimes just amplify it.
Yeah.
So like what would you say, if anything, to someone who's younger and getting into it for the first time? Like one thing that I say is one thing that I think is really smart is to focus on like the performance and health aspects rather than just the body aspects, right? Because the body aspects can take a long time, man. Like a really long time. I think performance is huge. Like, especially for young men, like if you can get stronger, that's actually a tangible, objective thing that you can like put on the page and be proud of. It's like your hard work led to this. Right. Whereas like some of the physique changes are a lot more subjective. And so, yeah, you can like take progress photos every so often. There's nothing wrong with doing a physique update or like doing some poses in the mirror. That's all totally cool. But I think, like you said, once you get to the point where you're like really nitpicking specific body parts and like, I don't know, getting down on yourself because you're not seeing progress as fast as, your friends or people on social media, like that's where you can start to run into some of those issues. Is there anything else you would say to somebody starting out?
Yeah, I think like, the tough thing about being, 16, 17, 18, even early 20s is it feels like everything has to happen right away, especially on social media. It feels like, I started working out, I got to see results right away, because, you don't necessarily have an idea of what 5 years of work feels like. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it seems like a very, very long time until you get older and you realize that, okay, I tried to do something for 5 years. That's not as long as it feels like when you're 16, 17. So I think I would just say, be patient with yourself. And it is something that you have to just go through life and experience and learn in order to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just, keep working at it and don't get discouraged. And I think just realizing that no matter what you do, if it's worth doing, it's going to be a process. Yeah. It's going to take time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Absolutely true. Yeah. Okay, I want to switch gears and talk about some of the science aspect of this a little bit more. Because that was something I felt like with the video, man, I poured a lot of hours into that video. And like a lot of it was trying to figure out how I could just tell our story and really like relay our journey to people. But I feel like I didn't necessarily like delve into what it was like to do research as much. And so you understand that now as much as I do. Man, that was one thing I feel like we really undersold in the video was just how much work it is to do science and how hard it is. Yeah. Like the hardest 5 days of that experiment were the 5 days we went to the university and did the updates.
100%.
100%. Yeah. Like those days are so long and so brutal. Yeah. Also really cool though. Like I think as far as I know, this is one of the, if not the only really long-term bodybuilding case studies that has ever been done. So it is really cool to have the data. But I also guess I just like want people to know, like, it wasn't like you just like go in and step on a scale and you're done. It was actually a lot of work. And shout out to the people who did the study too. Alicia, Derek, Stu, like without them, it would never happen. Yeah. So anyway, that's my whole spiel about that. Also on the science side, I do want to put this into context because people will hear like, oh, you put on 10 pounds of lean mass and lost 10 pounds of fat mass. Like, okay, cool, whatever. Is that a lot or not? So I have a visual here.
Okay.
So this is 1 pound of chicken breast.
Okay.
All right. 1 pound of chicken breast.
Yeah.
So for you basically put on 10 times that.
Dang.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, this is not a perfect analogy. So like here's caveat time.
Yeah.
Like lean mass is not just pure muscle mass. It's also water. But I think especially in your case, I do think at least half of it would be actual muscle. Like, especially since your strength improved a lot. We saw muscle thickness measurements go up. Like you look at the visual before and after, like you clearly put on muscle. So even if we were to be like conservative and say like half, that would still be like 5 of these. If you wanted to be like ultra conservative, you could say like 3 times this. Like that's a lot to add.
Even if it was just 1, it's kind of a lot.
It's pretty crazy, right? So exactly. And so to put that into context, it's like, man, that's a lot of hard training, and like you earned this muscle. I don't know. I think seeing it just puts it into perspective a little bit better.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, I don't know if we wanted to be conservative, like I would say at least something around this, which having been training for more than 15 years, that's something that like, honestly, man, I'm really proud of it because it was hard.
Yeah.
And it's especially hard, I think, as you get more advanced to stay motivated, because I think I was initially more motivated by the physique aspect than you were. Like your motivations were more health related, more mental health related. Mine was like, I just like kind of want to look like a bodybuilder. And so, when that's your anchor, as your gains start to slow down more and more, it's like, you start to wonder like, why am I training so hard if I'm not going to like even make gains anyway? And so I think it's pretty cool that I was able to motivate myself to train as hard as we did for a whole year. And then it's like, hey, this is what you get, man.
Yeah.
Like 3 chicken breasts on your body, which it's like, it may seem trivial to somebody who's not into bodybuilding, but for me, I'm like, okay, that's worth it.
Yeah, 100%, man.
And so I guess just like thinking about the results of the experiment for me, do I think that there is a natural ceiling for muscle growth? Like, did I debunk that? What do you think? Do you think I debunked that?
I think so. I think that here's the thing. If you want to say there's a natural ceiling, I think you have to say that it stops or goes back or, regresses. Then if you're going to hit that plateau, I think you have to be extreme and say that if you gain anything that you can put on paper, that you can see a little bit of a dial shift, then that counts as going past it.
True. Fair enough. So I push it. So I've thought about this a lot. And I think I showed that even in my case, as somebody who does fitness for a living, if you really dial everything up to 100%, you can shift your natural ceiling up a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. So like you could be plateaued for like 4 or 5 years, which is kind of how I felt like I was, at least from muscle mass. Like you can still make gains in other areas, but strictly talking about muscle mass, I think I was plateaued and maybe even regressed a little bit because focus more on business. You maybe don't train as hard as you could, whatever the case may be. You hit that, but then it is possible, I think, for almost everybody to nudge that ceiling up. Yeah. And I think that's what I did. Yeah. Now, what if we did it again for another year? What if we were like, okay, so it's like for the next 365 days, I'm going to train as perfectly as humanly possible. Okay. And then it's like 1 year later. For another 365 days, I'm going to train as perfectly as possible, right? It's like, okay, well, what would happen in that next experiment? Mm-hmm. What do you think? Would I gain another 2.5 pounds or 2.7 pounds of lean mass? Or would now it be even less?
I mean, I obviously, not only did I not work out, I wasn't even in the fitness world. Yeah. Besides what I got little crumbs from you and mom and then. Like, from my understanding, I think that if you were to run it back and do the exact same thing, you wouldn't see it. But if you were to, I don't know, change it up and challenge yourself in different ways, then maybe you would see, if not the same, at least a notable difference, I think.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I think, so I don't think, even if I changed things up and like maybe added a little volume or did these like specialization phases or some of these advanced techniques that we didn't even get into in this experiment, I do think I would continue to build muscle, but I think it would probably be like, it just randomly guessing, maybe half, you know what I mean? So maybe 1.5 pounds-ish, something like that. But then, okay, round 3 for the next 365 days, I'm going to train so this is the 3rd year. Yeah. Okay. I would have to say, I think it would be less again, right? Yeah. So I think you get it, it's called an asymptotic curve where it's just like, it really does start to level off. Mm-hmm. Now let's expand that out for 20 years. Mm-hmm. Like eventually, I think you just do hit a limit, right? Like that is what a limit means.
It makes sense.
And so I do still think that the natural limit in theory does exist, but I think almost no one hits it. Mm-hmm. The only time someone would hit it would be if they've been training optimally, like we did for the whole year, for like 10 years on end, and like everything is perfectly optimized, and you're getting older, because even if you could put on like 1 pound per year of muscle, okay, by the time you like go from 30 to 60, you put on 30 pounds of muscle, like that just isn't the way it is, man. Like people in their 60s are not way more jacked than people in their 20s or 30s usually, right? So, I think even if theoretically you were to dial everything in, I think eventually you are going to hit that plateau. But what the year experiment showed me was that you're probably not training as hard and smart as you could be. Mm-hmm. And so you probably, you almost certainly aren't actually at your natural ceiling. I think less than 0.01% of people are actually there, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And even as you get older, like even into your old age, if you're not optimizing, you can actually make gains. Yeah. Like there are studies of people in their 90s who start lifting, in their 90s.
That's crazy.
And they build muscle. So you absolutely can continue to make gains. I think it becomes a matter of perspective, right? Because let's say you're more like me, and you've been training for more than 10 years, more than 15 years, more than 20 years, whatever the case may be, right? And you're like, okay, I'm noticing things starting to slow down. Do you want to do what we did for a year? It was hard. Like we basically dedicated a full year of our lives to trying to put on as much muscle as possible, right? And the gains might just not be worth it for you, and that's okay. And I think that had the experiment gone a different way and the results were more you just didn't gain any muscle. Mm-hmm. I think the way you would accept that is by being like, okay, well, I've natty max. I've reached my genetic potential. That's awesome. Now I'm going to try to maintain it. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the shift you want to get to as you get more and more experienced. Because of course you could continue making gains if you took steroids, but if you care about your health, then you probably don't want to do that. Obviously, there's some exceptions if you have low T and yada, yada, yada. But I think for the most part, you want to keep doing this naturally, right? That's what most people want to do. I think if you get to that point where you're like, I don't want to have to do like brutal workouts and like be super diligent with my nutrition and like track my sleep and do everything optimally like you and I did for all year, just accept maintenance. Like, I think that's okay at a certain point.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I agree.
Or so you can accept muscle maintenance, or you can shift to a different goal. So you can say, okay, I'm going to try to get like really strong this year, or I'm going to try to run a marathon this year. Or, if I'm turning 50 this year, I'm going to try to be in my best shape. Like, you can always control your body fat percentage. That's mostly just nutrition. So it's like, I'm going to be the only guy that I know who's 50 and has a six pack.
Right.
Like, that's a sick goal, So it doesn't, I think like in this like weight training space, sometimes people can get like hyper fixated on gains. And it's like, okay, well, my experiment went the way I wanted it to in a lot of ways, in the sense that like I did actually make pretty solid gains. But like, even if I didn't, I think you can still keep going with your journey and either be like, okay, I'm going to see how low I can get with my volume and still maintain, and then just like focus on other areas of my life.
Right.
Or I'm going to see like how high I can get my squat, or like I said, like I'm going to try to dunk again or something, like there are all kinds of other goals that you can set. I could never dunk. I dunked a volleyball once, but at 5'4.5", that's about as good as I can hope for, I think. But there's just like all kinds of different fitness goals that you can set if you're at a point where you're like, I'm close enough to my genetic limit now that I'm going to like be happy with the muscle mass I have. And there's nothing wrong with shifting a perspective at that point. That's like the point I would make there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. I think too, it becomes a factor of once you hit a certain age, I don't know what that age is, 40, 50, 60. It's like you said, maintaining, and so that you can't have other goals, so that your health, and you're not, you don't have bad knees, you don't have bad back, you don't have all these things that are limiting you.
Yeah.
And it might not even be all about how like big do I look and how jacked am I. Yeah. It's now to a point of like, there's one thing to have longevity, but there's a second thing to enjoy your longevity, right? Yeah. And if you're just in a bed and you can't move and you live to 90, okay, well, what did those 30 years, 60 to 90 look like, right?
Yeah.
And I think once you get to maybe, let's say, your natural limit, I think that's where your goal should shift into, just like you said, maintaining it for that reason of I can enjoy life in other aspects now still.
Very true. Yeah. Very true. And the good news is it's a lot easier to maintain muscle than it is to build it from scratch. It is just way easier. You don't have to do as much volume. I could go on about all the papers on that, but I'll save it for now. I do want to, before we wrap it up, foreshadow the next experiment.
Okay.
So the one that we're halfway through now.
Right.
Obviously, this is a fat loss experiment. Which experiment do you like better so far, the bulking one or the cutting one?
Oh, see, it's a tough question because, I mean, okay, well, I'll answer the question first, I guess. I definitely like this one better, but I think because the first one was a trial period, right? And I was getting used to working out, and we talked about how it took me 6 months to actually even slightly enjoy going to the gym. I think it's a little biased to say that this one is the best, because I would need to do that other one in my same mindset now. So, but I do enjoy this one a lot, especially for like the workload, and especially for the routine, and like, not being at the gym for 4 hours at a time. You know?
I'm so excited to release the program that we're doing with
it's a good
this
program,
experiment.
man.
I think it is. Like, I loved the experiment, upper, lower, push, pull legs. I thought that was an awesome split. The workouts were tough.
Yeah.
They were way longer than they are now. And I don't know. I really think that on a fat loss phase where the goal is mostly muscle maintenance, at least for me, lower volume, high intensity training is the way to go, man.
Yeah.
I think people are going to love this program once the video drops and everything. For me, okay, so bulking is more fun in the sense that like you can go to Japan and just eat all this sushi, and like as long as you track it, it's like fine, and you have all this dietary flexibility and you can just like live life.
Yeah.
That part of it is awesome. But I will say I'm, you know, I won't say where my body fat is down to, but it's gotten to the point where like, yeah, the hunger and cravings, especially at night, are getting pretty brutal.
Oh yeah.
So there's a little sub experiment that I'm going to throw in to this experiment, which is I just started doing intermittent fasting. And it's my first time really giving it a honest shot in a pretty extreme way. So yeah, I won't give away the details on that, but so far that's been helping a lot with the hunger. But yeah, you just can't compete with like the bulking experience, bro. At least for me, like the food and the diet is just a lot of fun. Whereas now it's like, man, like egg whites and oats, salad, and then like, you know, ground turkey, cauliflower rice. Like the meals are just not as good.
It's tough, man. It is. And I love cooking. I love experimenting with food, trying new foods and stuff. And now on this, it's like, you just can't.
It's hard. Like, but that's also because, you know, we're doing an aggressive fat loss experiment. It is aggressive. And I actually like more of a like rapid fat loss approach, even though it's a bit of a hot take, because like you just get there faster. And it's like, if you want to get leaner, you don't want it to take all this time, you know? I mean, most people want to get lean for summer or, you know, lose fat for a wedding or something. And so, 100%. I think it's just a little more relatable. And, you know, we're going to see like with aggressive fat loss, like, do we lose a bunch of muscle? Do we retain our muscle? What happens to our strength? We also got blood work done. So we're going to see what happens to like our testosterone and everything. We're doing like a full psych panel. So like at every update, we're getting asked like about food behavior and like self-esteem and like all this stuff. It's gonna be really good. I think it'll be better than the first one.
Those questions are gonna be cool. There's gonna be some unique answers in there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, before we wrap it up, I want to read through a couple comments on our video together. Yeah. Okay. Not that one. Tricked his bro into lifting weights in the name of science. Now he is hooked for life.
I mean, I think that is true. That's valid.
That 6 month side by side on Brad is totally insane. He looks like a completely different person. Huge props to him for sticking to it. Awesome to see.
Oh man, that's sweet. That's really nice.
It really is, man. Like honestly, bro,
that is motivational.
It is, and that's just the visual aspect. You know, there's so much more to it. Jeff's brother talking about decreased social anxiety because of lifting is why I believe in this community. It's not just about looks. It's about becoming a more confident and competent person.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
That's awesome. Like
that's really sweet.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that's
big
really
props to the brother for having the confidence to do this on camera. Not easy.
Yeah.
All right, man. That's a wrap.
Sweet.
Thanks so much for coming on, dude.
Thanks for having me, man.
Really good getting to chat up with you. So for everybody who is still around, leave us a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of other podcasts with a bunch of expert guests, and I'm really excited about it. So yeah, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys all here in the next one.